I'm 78 years old now, and most days I sit in this same chair, by the window, watching the light move across the room. There's not much left to wait for, and that makes it easier to say things I kept quiet about for decades. His name was Thomas. We were married for 51 years before he passed 4 years ago. 51 years sounds like a long time, and it was, but the truth is I spent most of it thinking we had more time. We met when I was 22. He worked at the mill. I was a secretary in the office upstairs. He had quiet hands and a way of listening that made me feel like what I said actually mattered. We married a year later, bought a small house on Maple Street, and started the life everyone around us seemed to be starting. Children came, 2 boys, then a girl, the house filled with noise and laundry and school projects. I was proud of how we managed. I kept the books balanced, the meals on the table, the children clean. Thomas worked long shifts and brought home steady pay. We were respectable. That mattered to me. I thought marriage was mostly about keeping things running. If the bills were paid, the children were fed, the house didn't fall apart, then we were doing it right. I told myself love was in the doing, so I did. I did a lot. Evenings, Thomas would come home tired. He'd sit in his chair with the newspaper or the television, and I'd keep moving, clearing the table, starting the dishes, checking homework, folding clothes. He'd ask if I wanted to sit with him for a minute. I'd say, "Just let me finish this first." There was always something to finish. Weekends were for errands and yard work and visiting my parents or his. Sunday dinners, church sometimes. We'd talk about the children, about money, about what needed fixing in the house. We didn't talk much about us. I thought that was normal. I thought there would be time later, when the children were grown, when the mortgage was paid, when things slowed down. They never really slowed down. The children grew up and moved away. The house got quieter. Thomas retired at 65. I kept working part-time at the library because I didn't know what else to do with myself. When I finally stopped, I thought, now we'll have time. We'll travel a little. We'll sit on the porch in the evenings. We'll talk. But by then we didn't know how. We'd sit at the dinner table and there'd be long stretches where neither of us spoke. I'd ask about his day, he'd say it was fine. He'd ask about mine, I'd say the same. We'd talk about the weather or the neighbours or what was on television. The big things, the things we might have said when we were younger, felt too heavy to bring up after so many years of not saying them. I told myself it was companionship, that it was enough. Thomas got sick when he was 72. It started with tiredness, then pain in his chest, then the diagnosis. Cancer. They gave him 18 months, maybe 2 years. He lived 14 months. Those 14 months were the first time in decades that I stopped moving long enough to sit beside him. I sat in the hospital. I sat in the living room when he came home with the oxygen tank. I sat on the edge of the bed when he couldn't get up anymore, and we talked, really talked. He told me things I hadn't known he felt, how lonely he'd been sometimes, even with me right there in the same house, how he'd wished I'd sit with him after dinner instead of cleaning the kitchen that could wait, how he'd wanted to take me dancing again like we did when we were courting, but never asked because he thought I'd say I was too tired. I told him things too, that I'd been afraid if I stopped working, stopped managing everything, it would all fall apart, that I thought love meant holding everything together, that I didn't know how to just be with someone without doing something for them. We cried some, not loud, not dramatic, just quiet tears while we held hands. He said he didn't blame me. I said I wished I'd known sooner. We both knew it was too late to change anything. After he died, the house felt enormous. I'd walk from room to room and hear my own footsteps too loudly. I kept thinking about all the evenings I'd spent at the sink while he sat 10 feet away in his chair. All the times I'd said, "Just a minute," and the minute turned into years. I learned too late that marriage isn't mostly about keeping the life running. It's about keeping each other company while the life runs. The dishes could have waited. The laundry could have waited. The children would have survived a less perfect house. But those quiet evenings beside him, they couldn't wait. Once they're gone, they're gone. I don't say this to scare anyone. I don't say it because I think you should live differently than I did. I say it because I'm 78, and I know now what I didn't know then. I thought there would always be more time to sit together, to ask the questions I never asked, to say the things I kept inside. There wasn't. If you're married or if you love someone, I hope you have more time than I did. I hope you use some of it just sitting together, not doing anything important, just being there. It sounds simple. It is simple. I just didn't understand how much it mattered until there was no one left to sit with. These days I still sit by the window. Sometimes I talk to Thomas anyway, out loud, because the house is too quiet otherwise. I tell him about the weather, about the garden, about the great-grandchildren I see once or twice a year. I tell him I'm sorry I didn't sit with him more. I don't know if he hears me, but it feels better to say it. That's all I have to say, really. I'm an old woman who loved her husband and didn't know how to show it in the way he needed until it was too late. If this reaches someone who still has time, maybe they'll sit down tonight instead of finishing whatever they think can't wait. Maybe they won't have to learn this the way I did. Thank you for listening.